Welcome to another culture-rich episode of Culture Conversations. My name is Chizobam Ofebo. Today, culture ambassadors, as I like to call them, are largely to thank for the new lease of life that Nigeria and Africa as a whole is enjoying, or are enjoying. And the young men and women behind the lens and camera are part of this incredible group of culture ambassadors who are using their talents and patriotism to re-image the true picture of Nigeria and Africa. With us in the studio today is one of Nigeria's beloved culture ambassadors, Niyi Fagbemi. He is, and filmmaker as well. He is globally known for his viral docu-films, like his beautiful depiction of the Ojude Oba Festival that takes place in Ogun State. Niyi Fagbemi is a Nigerian-based travel and documentary filmmaker who is dedicated to presenting the African and Nigerian narrative in a distinctive fashion. With over 100 million views across various platforms, he has collaborated with notable brands and personalities like UNDP, Nat Geo, UBA, NBS, Rocky Mountain Institute, Red Bull, and more. Niyi excels as a DOP, drone pilot, and video editor for specialization in travel, lifestyle, and documentary filmmaking, with his main aim being for the world to rediscover Africa and Nigeria through his lens. Without further ado, let's welcome Niyi. Niyi, thank you so much for being with us on the show. I am super excited to have you. Super excited. But let's just jump into the questions. What triggered your foray into this line of travel filmmaking? Was it happenstance? Was it always the plan?
Okay, so to be honest, it was never the plan, right? So I actually studied mechanical engineering in school. Okay, so I did it for 5 years. Then I actually ended up being a project engineer here in Lagos with an IOC for about 2 years. But when the oil prices came crashing down, there was a huge blow, and after like around a year and a half, right? Sorry, so they actually let go of everybody in my team, including myself. So it was like a very, very huge blow. So prior to that, I actually had interest in photography, but I never really took it serious because I wanted to become a project engineer. So because of like the huge blow and circumstances to have it, so I actually decided to actually take photography serious. Okay. And before that, I never really knew how to make money from photography. So I had to pick myself up and actually do what was right and actually learn how to make money. And actually started out taking pictures, documentary pictures, and just anywhere that my camera could face, just take any pictures. So I did that for like a year or two. Then I interned under a very good mentor of mine, Demola Olaniran in Abuja. Okay. Yes, so it was a very, very helpful experience for me. Then moving forward to around let's say a year into like the photography space, I ended up being able to afford a drone. So I got a drone. Then I started with like aerial photography. Okay. And then because of like the current trend and also the social media trend as well, everybody loved video. So I decided to actually learn. And once I learned it, I actually just said, okay, it's not as hard as I actually thought it was going to be. So then also growing up, I also had like a vision for Nigeria. And I always used to think that whenever I think of all these states, take for instance Katsina now. Yes. There's really no mental picture that you can have about the state. True. So maybe you can just think of like the word Katsina, but you can't really have like a picture about it. So growing up, it was just like a very, very good passion of mine to actually see a lot of these narratives being changed. And I also believe that we as Africans and we as Nigerians need to tell our own story because to be honest, like in the past, it hasn't really been told in the best way. Yeah. And based on what's flying on the news, anyway that I tell, I'm going to Nigeria, I'm going somewhere in Nigeria, they'll be like, be safe and stuff like that. So based on like my personal preference and also my personal vision for Nigeria and also my love for my country, Nigeria, it's been really good, and I really want to see Nigeria change. Thank
you so much for becoming a culture ambassador. I've said it several times, I won't tire to say it. And so regardless of the passion you have for something, there's always going to be the highlights and there's always going to be the low tides. Yeah. So can you just give us a bit of what the highlights have been and the low tides?
Okay, I think I'll actually start with the low tides, right? So funny enough, I actually sponsor myself to almost everything you see on my page. So around 95% of what I do, I actually sponsor myself, which is also limiting to some extent. So I can't really be consistent as I want to be in terms of posting, in terms of traveling, because it also requires funding. And I also have to find a way to actually to balance being being able to balance clients' work, making money from clients' work, and now using the money that I have made to actually push like the narrative of Nigeria out there. So I mean, all in all, that's one of the low tides. But in terms of the high tides, I mean, it's also like seeing the reactions from people. And also maybe one thing that really touches me on a personal level is that people actually message me and they call me sometimes and say, oh, I really love what you're doing. I mean, I really never envisioned Nigeria or somewhere in Nigeria to be like this. So it's really been awesome. And I think it's just because I really want to change, even if I can't really change the whole world, obviously, at least just change one person's world. And that's
Thank
really
you
what
so
makes
much.
the
Wow.
difference.
So you're self-financing.
Yes.
That's very limiting, man. See the magic you've been able to create. Government and private institutions, are you hearing? Is there so now there are a lot of young people out there, they want to be the next Niyi Fagbemi, and we're grateful for the path that you've created. But not everybody is going to come into your particular space. I know that one of the hardest things to do in business is to find out a niche and carve it out for yourself. You've done yours. So for the young people out there, you've been in the industry for a bit, so you've seen some loopholes that they can come and carve out of their niche. So what are some of those loopholes for them to come, into?
I mean, thank you so much for that question. I think maybe I'll start out with how I actually discovered my own niche, right? So I didn't really like see it from anywhere or hear it from anywhere. I mean, it's just over time you get to actually try it out. Like I mentioned, I started out as a photographer. Then, I mean, years down the line, I actually just ended up in filmmaking. So whatever you find yourself doing at this particular time, right, just do with all you have. So there's a quote that says, all you can do is all you can do, but and all you can do is enough. So at every point in time, just do all you can do. And after some time, I'm telling you, you actually figure out what you want. I mean, you can start out with one thing, but at the end of the day, you can actually see that, oh, okay, I actually prefer this other thing than this one thing that I actually started out with. So, I mean, that's how I found my niche. Sorry. So in terms of like the different niches that are available, right? So, I mean, if we're projecting into the future, I mean, there's AI and there's also like 3D mapping and also visual effect mapping as well, which is really, really good. And there's a lot of potential in that space. So I mean, there's a lot of potential in the travel space, in the filmmaking space, and also in the creative industry as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Niyi. So you talked about being able to finally afford a drone, and I know that that's big money.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of young people are like, okay, you've told us that we can come in and we can start where we are, but we need certain equipment. And with the economy the way the economy is there a cheaper do-it-yourself way of being a Niyi?
Okay. I mean, yes, definitely there is, right? So I used to tell a lot of people, I mean, funny enough, nowadays it's easier to go viral on your phone than it is to go like viral with like camera equipment. The reason being is, number one, the ease of use, the usability, and also the turnaround time. So when you take a video with your phone, you can easily edit it on your phone and post. But when you take a video with a camera, I mean, let me walk through my process. So if I take, for instance, the Ojude over now. So after shooting for like 6 hours in one whole day, I mean, woke up early in the morning, we shot. Then after the event, I still had to travel back to Abuja. After traveling back to Abuja, I have to copy from my cards into my system. After copying from the cards into the system, I have to look through those 6 hours of footages and actually select which ones that I actually want. Okay, after selecting which ones I want, I mean, you now have to build the timeline and blend it with the song. So it's a very long.
So let's say 2 weeks, 1 month before the whole footage comes out.
I mean, yes, but the Ojude one was special because I mean, I really loved it and I just wanted to get it out.
So how long did that take?
So I think that took around 1 week.
1
or 2 weeks, right?
Oh, yes, I really loved it for you to have been that quick.
Yeah.
So I have a vision for Nigeria that in 2033 we're going to be a world power. And that's why I'm grateful for young ambassadors like you. Kone Shorian said no nation has been saved by its politicians. And so it's people like you, the creative economy that we have today that is saving Nigeria. How would you say your field right now is going to help us get to that world power status?
Okay, so I think one of the best ways, right, to actually sell a product is if you sell it yourself. So we as Nigerians, we need to sell Nigerians by ourselves. So it's really not what anybody says about Nigeria, it's only what we say about Nigeria. So we as Nigerians need to tell our own stories and paint the best picture for ourselves. I mean, there's a lot of bad things that happen in Nigeria, to be honest, and there's a lot of bad things that also happen in the world and in Western countries. But what you hear about the Western countries is most of the good things, right? So
how they're saving the world.
Exactly, and that's because they are painting their own picture. Exactly. So we as Nigerians, we need to control our own narrative as well.
And you're doing that with the films that you're
yes,
doing.
Exactly.
How can government and private organizations help you?
Okay, so in terms of the government organizations, right? So maybe not help me personally, but help the filmmaking space. And the I think number one is building the right infrastructure. So when I'll give an instance like Obudu now. I've been there twice, and unfortunately, I haven't even stayed in the mountain villas, which are like the really, really nice chalets. But I haven't really stayed there just because they were not functioning. The first time they were on strike. The second time it wasn't just functioning, and everywhere was cold. So it's really hard to be able to go to all these places when there's no infrastructure, the accessibility as well. So the same time it's going to take you for a direct flight from Nigeria to London. It's the same time it will take you from anywhere, any central area or any main area in Nigeria to Obudu. Wow. It's going to take you around 8 hours from Abuja to Obudu. It's going to take you around 6 hours from Calabar, which is in the same state. Yeah, from to Obudu, and it's going to take around 7 hours from Enugu to Obudu as well. So in terms of accessibility, there has to be proper infrastructure in terms of the roads, and there are different aspects that which can be built upon. Yeah,
because you're dealing with tourism, so accessibility, road networks, everything, and accommodation, everything ties in.
So I think maybe one other thing I can mention is that there needs to also be government and private sector partnerships, right? So I think what I've seen based on all my travels is that Nigeria has a very, very poor maintenance culture, sadly. So over time you see a lot of projects that have been built, but at the end of the day they are not maintained because there's change in power and also change in the people that actually built those places and had the passion for it. So my own advice to any government and parastatal that is actually watching this is that if you can, right, I think there needs to actually be even if it's not a direct ministry of maintenance, right, but there actually needs to be some form of maintenance structure for Nigeria so I can actually measure your KPIs and measure where needs to be maintained.
Nice. The last question, mentorship opportunities.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of space for mentorship opportunities, but unfortunately for 2024 it's already booked out.
Wow, that's how great you are. 2024 is booked already. Yeah. I'm busy, I'm profitable. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Niyi. Thank you for what you're doing, and I pray that government and the private, organizations, heed to your advice, and you get everything that you need to get by raw resources. It has been a fantastic interview with Niyi. I'd like to quote something he said. He said, "All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is the best you can do, and is more than enough." Okay, so start where you are with your phones. Start where you are with your passion. Around you is tourism. Nigeria is that beautiful that wherever you are is a beautiful space to take a picture of or a film of, to tell our story in a better way. We'll go for a short break now. When we return, we'll join John and Helen to wrap up the show. Stay tuned.